Welcome to the Idaho Sheriff Livestream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. We discuss all things liberty without compromise. My name is Donna Wilson, co-host and producer. Also here to screen your questions and comments. We don't censor questions unless you're vulgar. Sense of humor we're perfectly okay with. Vulgarity, no. Getting your question into Dan is as easy as typing into the comment section on whichever platform you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Also, take a moment to share this broadcast to your profile so your friends and family also have the opportunity to join us live tonight. If you're listening back as part of our podcast family, thank you for joining us. And remember, you can listen and subscribe to the Idaho Sheriff podcast on whichever platform you get your shows. Here's your weekly reminder that Dan Wilson is the sheriff candidate for Kootenai County, who has been endorsed by Sheriff Richard Mack as the only constitutional sheriff for Kootenai County. Now, here's Dan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me on yet another hot July night. In fact, I think this is the last night in July that we're going to broadcast our live events because next week it will be August.
I can't believe that.
I know, and it is hot now. It's taken a long time to get warm here, and once it got warm, but I'm not complaining because there's a lot of snow in the winter, a lot of plowing, so I soak up every bit of hot weather I can, and hot weather is great for parades.
It's great for parades, and we had some hot days that were like a little out there, where even the evening time trying to sit outside was too much. But these nights have been perfectly, like, it cools down, and it's like perfect for sitting outside at nights. Yeah,
Really good. Well, we have a lot to talk about tonight. When do we not have a lot to talk about? Well, I'm going to be talking about more of the debacle with the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit helicopter. Discovered even more disturbing things that I can't wait to share with you. We're also going to talk about the sheriff and a bounty that he has put together for his posse. But is it a good, righteous posse? And should a sheriff ever offer a bounty?
I just had somebody saying they're having trouble loading on Instagram, but the feed looks good. I'm seeing a lot of you join. So that message to Jen, because she was having trouble connecting, may want to try it on Facebook. Facebook and YouTube, I'm actually a little bit of a teaser. I'm not discouraging joining from Instagram, but a little bit of a teaser for those of you who do watch on Instagram. You get full screen on YouTube and Facebook, and we can share your comments to the screen when you're joining us on either of those platforms. So that's kind of fun.
And it's important because later on, for those that come back and say, hey, well, what were all the discussions happening? And we don't have a way on Instagram to go away.
I don't have a way on Instagram to do that. If you join us on Facebook or YouTube, we can share your comments that aren't necessarily questions that we address. We can share those so it gets back to all the audience who's joining us. Let's see. We've got merchandise available at the idahosheriff.com. We've had more orders going through, so we're excited to see more of you in your hats and t-shirts and your dogs wearing the Liberty Without Compromise bandanas.
Even dogs.
Another one
liberty.
of those ordered this week. You can also there on the website sign up for the campaign posse. And that means you're just going to get updates on when we might need your help for volunteering at the fair. You can walk with us in the parade, what we've got going on in the upcoming week, and you can be a part of those notifications. It's generally not difficult things requiring huge time commitments that we're asking you to do, but just being part of the team that's going to get us to the finish line.
Let me talk about our parades. We've walked through, 4 parades now, I think?
Yeah.
And what I love about our parade group is that it truly represents grassroots people. Now, we don't have the fancy floats. We don't have the fancy sheriff car with a bunch of streamers on it and all the pomp and circumstance. What we have is you right here in Kootenai County, those that support Liberty Without Compromise, that message, and join me shoulder to shoulder in whatever t-shirts you happen to have, if it happens to be an Idaho Sheriff Dan Wilson t-shirt, or whether it's your red, white, or blue, or even if it is your own personal vehicle with homemade signs and banners. This represents the people, and we are so proud of our supporters and those that work with us.
And speaking on that, we've got the Hayden Days Parade coming up on Saturday, the 27th. We are having a public town hall in Worley on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 28th. Dan's going to be at Westwood Guns. We're really excited about this one because we love to support Duke. So we are all gathering at Westwood Guns on August 1st. I don't remember what day of the week that is.
I believe it's a Thursday.
Something like that. And then we're going to be a part of Athel Days in the parade on August 10th. And then also at the Kootenai County Fair for 10 days, and that runs August 16th through the 25th. We'd love to have a lot of volunteers for manning the booth or manning our table there at the fair. And it's just going to be a fun time.
It is. And I want to go back to Westwood Guns. So I met Duke quite some time ago, and what a great man in the community Duke is in Westwood Guns. Great products. This is a guy that espouses the American dream, that is doing something daring on his own dime, and he isn't playing a victim or not succumbing to obstacles. Duke, who is quite the armor, is building for me as we speak a custom rifle that we're going to be, I can't say raffle.
Oh, that's
but it's going to be a giveaway for, a price. More details to come, but you're going to want to see this rifle because I guarantee you're not going to find a rifle like this anywhere else. And Duke is the man, and he and I have been going over final details. Look, I'm not a gun nut. I pick them up and they go bang. That's a good day for me. Obviously, you want to qual, and you never want to be, your gun should never be better than your ability. Meaning that don't buy a Gucci gun, but this is not a Gucci gun. You're going to want to see this gun. So come on out to see the unveiling of the gun that we've got that we're going to be, offering for several weeks.
So we want you there at Westwood Guns on August 1st. But if you have not yet had a chance to stop into Duke's store, do that. He's located in Rathdrum, off
of 41 and 53 on the far east end of the Bi-Mart Plaza.
Here's a reminder that if you do have a question for Dan, you can just put that into the comment section on whichever platform you're watching. The first question coming in from Instagram is from Jakey. And his question is, what are your thoughts on the hate speech bill that was passed in Idaho?
Wow. Well, thank you very much for this question. I had originally intended to not reveal this publicly because I wanted to do it at the same time that Bob Norris and I were going to debate. We have officially sent out an invitation for Bob Norris to have a clear debate with me so you, the people, can hear the difference between us and our ideas. But that being said, let's go back to hate speech. First of all, there is no hate speech nor hate crimes found in the Bill of Rights. And I personally am opposed to either one. If you are a victim of a crime, 9 out of 10 times, that person that committed a crime against you hates you. And when it comes to speech, look, sticks and stones may break my bones. I know we don't say that anymore, but the reality is that the founders did not want any censoring of speech. And you can make the argument all day long about, you can't call fire in a movie theater if there isn't a fire. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the attempted suppression through years and years and years of, manipulating people into thinking that just because a certain protected class, right? We're supposed to be all Americans. There shouldn't be anybody that has more rights than another or more standing than another. So putting that aside, my understanding is right now in Idaho state law, there are enhancements if you commit a crime where if they can determine that the motive for committing that crime was based off of a hate for a certain protected group, well, then they put these enhancement sentences on you. And so that's kind of where that goes. Again, I'm adamantly opposed to that. I think it's not adhering to the Bill of Rights. And I think we should also be people that are wise and kind in what we say. Nobody wants to hear somebody disparaged out in public. There's heinous things that people will say about all sorts of people, but that doesn't mean that speech should be suppressed. My understanding currently is that the laws that were passed in Coeur d'Alene basically follow the state rules when it comes to crimes. So my understanding right now is that they can't just say, hey, we're pulling you out and arresting you because you said something that we now consider to be hateful. However, they can be creative and come up with a charge to probably tie that into. What does that all mean? Well, look, it's a double-edged sword. And what have I been telling you all for many, many weeks? If you don't start fighting with the same kind of tactics that those that do not adhere to the same rules that we all used to play by, we're going to continually lose. And so therefore, the same rules apply for those that maybe are right now protected class, that they say heinous things about others as well. And I believe that if they're going to go down this, then let's get some trials going. Let's see how well this works, and let's see who falls inside these nets that never thought that they were going to be part of it. Because guess what? Equal protection under the law. So if you say something hateful against a Christian or a conservative, well, guess what? I guess it's turnabout's fair play. You too can get charged with these crimes. So probably a long-winded answer. As more of the law becomes available to where I have counsel that can talk with me, maybe I'll slightly change it. But look, I don't care what my liberal friends have to say. If you believe in the Bill of Rights, there is no suppression of free speech. Sorry, self-censor, but no government should ever abolish or tell you what you can or can't say. That test, that decider of the equal scales, nobody on earth has the ability to hold those scales and to weigh out whose speech is more worthy or more heinous than another.
And if each individual is operating with morality, like Dan said, the ideal is to live in a world where people self-censor. And if you're not doing that, then the people around you who don't agree should shun you from that group or from that segment of society. That might be a way to handle that rather than government control or through a legal process.
I would not be surprised that somebody that is charged with this crime ends up a very wealthy individual. So let's let the courts decide it. Let's be respectful to all, regardless of what your ideations are. But that's part of what we don't do good as Americans anymore, is we cannot be civil with each other. And there's way too many sensitive individuals that cry about everything. And that also includes my Republican right-wing leaning friends. I see it across the board. It's the same on both sides. So anyway.
I want to reiterate, if anybody is having technical issues on Instagram, because somebody was reporting that they keep kicking people off. The feed looks good to me, but if it's giving you trouble, join us over on Facebook, or if you want a little more anonymity, you can do that on our YouTube channel, which is the Idaho Sheriff, so we can keep it going. Another question from Facebook that was asked earlier today is this. Cannot wait to hear from you. So she dropped this in a little bit earlier. First question: did Bob's bounty offer deepen the tort claim?
Well, since I didn't plan on talking about this right now, let's just go ahead and jump in.
Yeah.
Let's
skip to that. Let's skip to the good part.
Last week, I broke a story about a tort claim that was filed against Sheriff Bob Norris and Kootenai County. And a tort claim is basically a notice to the county that's required by law if you have some kind of a grievance with government, where you have to put them on notice and say, hey, here's my grievance and this is what I'm claiming the damages are. They have typically, I believe, about 90 days as a county to respond to whether or not they're going to settle with you or litigate. Again, I'm talking generalities. I may not have 100% of this exactly accurate, but the bottom line is this. You should think of a tort claim as litigation, because attorneys serve it and you're put on notice, and it's basically saying, hey, pay attention. So last week when I broke this, the allegations are that Bob Norris singled out a woman by the name of Penny Ann Collinson, and in front of many witnesses at a town hall back in April, allegedly said some extremely disturbing things. Now, I read it verbatim last week. I'm not going to this week, but it was basically accusing her of sexual acts and photographing explicit content of minors in the library. So the plaintiff that filed this obviously has active claim against the county. So in the business world, those of us that have experience, now I've never been sued as a business, but I've been around enough attorneys and been around clients that have been in litigation. And best practices are the minute that you are named in something, number one, shut your mouth. Number two, shut your mouth. Number three, especially shut your mouth. But of course, Bob Norris is an ignorant man and he couldn't help himself. And so he's talking on, I think it was last Friday. So that was about a week after he was served, somewhere in there. And he started defending himself at a Reagan Republican breakfast. Now, it might have been the Pachyderms, but it was one of those, middle of the week gatherings. So he is running his mouth again, talking about, that something to the effect of that he wasn't saying the things that he said. Again, number one rule, shut your mouth. What's rule number two? Shut your mouth. Rule number three, especially shut your mouth. Now, here's where it gets really weird, and we're going to talk about this. So when you are the sheriff, you are the chief law enforcement officer of the county. It is arguably the most important elected position that you can hold in a county position. In fact, the only person that can arrest you is the coroner. The sheriff has to provide everybody equal protection under the law. And the sheriff has to have a stiff upper lip. And the sheriff has to also make certain that he never uses his position to intimidate or bully any citizen. I'm going to repeat that. Never to intimidate or bully any citizen. So I was surprised, and if you want to pull up slide number 7, this went viral pretty quick, and I was served a picture by somebody that said, "Hey, did you see this press release?" And it is, if you look at the top, it has the official Kootenai County Sheriff letterhead with Robert B. Bob Norris and Under Sheriff Brett Nelson. You have the Kootenai County patch and the Kootenai County badge. It was released on July 23rd, so that was yesterday. And the contact for the PIO, Public Information Officer, is Lieutenant Zach Sifford. I've actually talked with Zach. He's a good guy. I like Zach. So here's what it says. Sheriff Norris offers $10,000 reward in frivolous lawsuit. Sheriff Norris is being accused in a tort claim of saying derogatory statements towards Penny Ann Collinson at an April campaign event in front of about 50 people. Not only are these allegations false, Sheriff Norris is posting $10,000 of his own money for video proof of such frivolous claims made by Ms. Collinson. Ms. Collinson's allegations are 100% false. This frivolous tort claim is similar to the one filed by failed 2020 sheriff candidate John Grimm before the May 2024 primary. This is another effort to tarnish Sheriff Norris's credibility. I will not allow political operatives to tarnish my reputation, says Norris. There is a small group of people who think it's okay to use the judicial system to smear local elected officials, and that needs to stop. Sheriff Norris is offering $10,000 of his own money for any video evidence that made by video evidence. I can't read tonight. Sheriff Norris is offering $10,000 of his own money for any video evidence made by his accuser. Sheriff Norris is evaluating all options, including a countersuit where he can seek damages from these false allegations.
Now, I'll tell you, when I first saw this hit the Facebook page, the official Facebook page of the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, it was, I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to get my bucket of popcorn and sit back and watch this comment section roll.
Yeah.
And I didn't know which way it would swing. I didn't know how many of the comments would be supportive of him making that power move versus some of the pushback that he'd get. And a little bit surprised, I guess, to see that most people were taking issue. They understood the problem and were taking issue with the fact that using color of authority, official Kootenai County Sheriff's Office letterhead and his position to then make that like personal lawsuit statement.
I mean, here's the problem. I already said this earlier. The sheriff should never, ever be using his position as a bully pulpit or to intimidate any one of his citizens. Look, I understand that he is outraged and incensed about the allegations. I most likely would be too. Now, I have no clue to the validity of the claim. I have heard from numerous people who were there that absolutely claim that she is right. So I've heard that from numerous individuals. But again, that's what court is for. And unfortunately, what does not work well is instead of the sheriff, who, by the way, was enjoined by Kootenai County, so they're co-defendants, so to speak, from the way I understand it. What do we say again? Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Do not use your official letterhead to put a bounty for your posse to go and find evidence to clear you and your name. How dare you? How dare you ever take, Bob Norris, the official seal of the sheriff and degrade that office to go and attack a woman who has filed a charge against you? A bigger man, a man that is secure in his evidence, secure in his position, would probably offer some kind of a press release and just say, you know what, we're not going to talk about it. It's pending.
I put it this way because some people were defending and saying, look, if somebody is coming at you as the currently elected sheriff, it is tarnishing or risks tarnishing the office and the man in that position. And they're not taking issue with that move that he took on official letterhead and putting the personal bounty. But think about it this way. Because you might be taking that position because you say, well, he's said it's frivolous. And maybe my opinion is that the source isn't credible or that's not a credible person. But what happens when you're on the other end of that? Yeah. What happens when there is an incident that occurs with you? You don't necessarily have video evidence, but then you have somebody in an elected power position using that power and control of their office to smear you and to
offer
defame
a bounty.
You.
The problem is
wild.
You are offering a bounty. You are the named defendant for a claim for over $500,000 in damages. And that's not even talking about whether or not the tort is not settled and they go to court. And Bob Norris, you have been often letting people in Kootenai County know that this is no time to let an OJT, on the job training sheriff, take over, because the civil liability, the civil rights violations, lawsuits that would ensue would be catastrophic to the county, millions and millions of dollars. And yet you, who should have known after 30 years being a high-speed lieutenant at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, where, you handled assets like the FBI and the CIA and the U.S. Attorney's Office, and yet you're not even smart enough. You're so ignorant that you use resources of the county to have your own spokesperson, which, by the way, we know that most likely this was written by Special Deputy County Commissioner Bruce Matari, because he says that Bruce Matari helps him with his public relations, right? So I'm guessing Bruce Matari probably is behind this debacle as well, but you use $10,000 bounty to try to coerce people to clear your name. Instead of putting it off of your campaign page, you did it on the official sheriff's page. And you can't have it both ways, Bob. When you're doing these little campaign stunts that you're calling town halls.
Let me correct. He put it on his reelection, his campaign page.
No, you're missing the point. This is on the official sheriff's seal. And so, look, This is an abuse of power. And by the way, $10,000 is a pittance to him. Because remember, folks, he makes over $180,000 a year in disability retirement from Los Angeles. And that doesn't even count for the approximate $150,000 that he makes as sheriff of Kootenai County. So $10,000 is a small price to pay. But look, I would never do this. I would handle it in a much different way, but you would never see me in my official capacity as a sheriff to put a bounty on somebody who is accusing me of wrong. And by the way, I have been accused of wrong. And I did things the correct way, not the way that Bob Norris is. You do not want this emotionally unstable man, and I've shown you over and over again, whether it is his crying at the most mundane of topics when he is speaking before the people. I personally have witnessed it's so uncomfortable that a sheriff, the man that's supposed to stand between you and tyranny, is breaking down and crying, or when he gets really angry at somebody at the fair because they're wearing a t-shirt of some kind of a candidate that you don't like. This man is emotionally unstable, and I'm betting that he's going to be on his own because he went and did this. Special Deputy Matari must have given him bad advice. But by the way, in this, since they're both being, sued, the county and the sheriff, and since Bruce Matari is a special deputy, is he more loyal to the sheriff, or is he more loyal to the Board of County Commissioners? Has anybody asked this question? I mean, Bruce, you have a special deputization. Why don't you come out and actually tell the people who your loyalties are when you get into these situations? Are you working for the people that elected you? Or are you prancing around with your little badge on and acting like you're the big shot deputy that you are, that you never, ever went through any kind of training? You never were a real cop, but you get somehow this privilege even though you didn't earn it. So anyway.
This is your weekly reminder that Bruce Matari is the public relations manager for Robert Bob Norris.
Yeah. And I'll just finish by saying this. Notice a pattern here. This pattern is what I've been facing since day one. Both Bob and Bruce do this. If you dare ask your elected official to give an answer for something that you believe that they're doing that is not above board, these guys use Saul Alinsky tactics, and they come back and they hunt you down with a vengeance. And this is exactly what's going on. So good luck to you, Bob. But remember, in the future, what's the best thing to do when you're getting sued? Shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth.
Sage advice. Okay, I'm going to...
But that's what a businessman would understand.
Businessman, your experience.
Not somebody that's never actually had to pay something, because he's always been on the government dole and used taxpayers' dollars.
Okay, this one's for Jake, because Jake Singleton, you've asked a question that gets asked every single week. Congratulations. I'm not making fun of the question, though. It's a serious question. Jake Singleton over on Facebook wants to know, how are you going... And he's in your camp, by the way, so it's not hostile.
Little Jake.
How are you going to keep the homeless and drug addicts out of the county?
Well, keep them out of the county. I mean, we have to adhere to what state law is and what your local municipality is. Now, the state law is going to be the governing factor as far as what you can or can't do. But remember, cities like in Kootenai County, Coeur d'Alene, and Post Falls, they can act other ordinances. You can't kick somebody out just because they're a drug user, but you can enforce things that are on public lands, but you're only as good as what your local government will allow you to do. So obviously, if it's something that is enforceable, we're going to do it. But remember, the state legislature has to be able to give us better resources. And by and large, I think in Idaho, we're doing a lot better. When I was an officer in Spokane, our hands were tied. And it started with Spokane City back in 2012 when they didn't want us going after a bunch of street kids that were allegedly homeless, harassing and assaulting patrons that were going downtown by Riverfront Park. We started enforcing that. And the city council, who were very woke back in 2012, as I recall, immediately put the kibosh on that. And that had a domino effect. Camping on sidewalks, eventual, taking over complete city sidewalks, blocks. And look, if your city council are not on board, there's not much you're going to do.
I think we were going to talk about the Bob Norris helicopter program again, or the nonprofit that it's funded by.
Yeah.
So while you're getting that ready and getting ready to give me instructions there, I just wanted to let you know that Jake said, I think you heard Bob Norris from California. So he says, enough said, my vote is for Dan.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Would you pull up for me that YouTube video? We're going to talk about the debacle, the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit helicopter, and this incestuous relationship where the lines are blurred and nobody really knows who owns this helicopter and who's really liable. Now, I'm not going to talk about the potential deals made with the tribe over cross-deputization and the abdication of law enforcement services by Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, acquiescing to the tribe for primary and secondary law enforcement services for both tribal and non-tribal members. Today, I'm going to focus on part of the issues when it comes to liability to the county. And I want to take you guys back to, I think it was February 28th of 2023. The Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit was being promoted by Lieutenant Mark Ellis and Sheriff Bob Norris. They'd already been there earlier the year before, and Board of County Commissioners said, hey, we're open to this. Come back with your MOU, your memo of understanding. I want to recap about 4 minutes, so bear with me. It's about 4 minutes, but it's important that you hear what is being said, because we're going to compare it with now, over 2 years later, the actuality of what is and what is not being done. So without further ado.
Well, while you're watching this video too, just remember you can continue to put your questions and comments into the comment section as you're watching.
Dive team program. Questions?
100.
Perfect.
Bill, you want to go first?
Well, yeah, I got questions. My big question is, after the 2-year period.
What's going on is
well,
we're
first
having
of all,
technical difficulties, but hey, when you have a dime of a wife and she is
I
volunteering her time, I can't get mad about it.
I tried.
All right. I'm going to give a recap. So what was going on in YouTube, and we'll provide a link. In fact, if you want to go to Kootenai County on YouTube and look up the Board of County Commissioners meeting, February 28th, 2023. And you can also go to the idahosheriff.com, go to the Crooked Copter, and you'll see a Word document that will take you to the link where this video is referenced and the date stamp. So here's what's going on. Bob Norris and Lieutenant Ellis are going before the Board of County Commissioners, and they're saying, hey, we've got this MOU. And here's what you can expect. It's not going to cost the county anything for the 2-year trial period. Now, I'm going to go back and say a couple things. It was originally being promoted by Lieutenant Ellis that they couldn't continue to use the helicopter Spokane's Air One with the memo of understanding and the $10,000 they were paying to Spokane County every year for their robust air program, because they said it was in transition, and it was misleading. What they were really doing in Spokane is they were changing out for some larger, more modern aircraft. And I think that it's important for you to go back and to look. There's a great article that we're going to be linking to here probably next week that does a really good job of articulating exactly the beginning of the helicopter and what's going on in Spokane. But I digress. So we're told that we have to use a helicopter in Kootenai County, and we're sold a bill of goods. So no funds, except for we're going to pay $10,000 that we were originally paying to Spokane County, and we're going to divert that back to this Kootenai County Regional Air Support Group that owns a helicopter that we don't own, but Lieutenant Mark Ellis is the registered agent. It is registered at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, and it is a 501c3 registered to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And Lieutenant Mark Ellis, of course, is promoting this program, oversees the air unit for Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Mind-blowing that this is even being allowed. But after 2 years, no cost, Bob Norris is saying, because it is a separate entity, similar to Spokane County and Two Bear Air. And they're not going to use any funds from Kootenai County to equip or to support this helicopter. except for they have previously had a flight program, and that was true. So they sent some TAC officers to be TAC officers at Air One and kind of share the load for, guys they needed up on that aircraft. But of course, now we equipped 8 guys, and there's a whole bunch of expense with flight suits and other things that we can't get the receipts from, by the way, from Mark Ellis, Lieutenant Mark Ellis or Bob Norris. We've been denied. I'm going to be showing those emails going back and forth where we've requested the receipts and they're not there. So at this point, we are going to assume they don't exist, and that's a shame. So then we were told that this unit, again, in this YouTube video, it is a 501c3 and tax deductible. But as I showed last week, there is no record of Kootenai County Regional Air Support with the IRS, nothing that we could find. And again, I reached out to Mark Ellis and I asked for it, and he wanted to obstruct again and say that I had to ask for another records request. I had already asked 2 entities for this. He knew what I was asking for. He kicked it back. We're not going to play that game, Mark. You either have the receipts or you don't. Now, Bob Norris and Mark Ellis told us in this Board of County Commissioners meeting that the contributions were tax deductible. So the question is, where are those funds going to? Now, last week, I put a $5 donation, and I was given a receipt.
Big of you.
I know. Well,
real
just try.
generous, Dan Wilson.
$5 receipt was sent to me, and the number, the contact number, is Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Again, we don't know what the separation is. But lastly, I requested out of their support team the email that was provided, and I posed a question. Is this tax deductible? And if so, where's my tax deductible receipt? Haven't heard anything in a week. They must be so busy flying that helicopter around.
Wait. Somewhere in here.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, 2 last things. Leslie Duncan said she wanted to make certain that the memo of understanding included language that the helicopter was not to be used for traffic enforcement on land and or water. And Bob Norris assured us that was not going to take place. And we know since then that it actually has been used for both of those. Lastly, that the county was covered, that the Regional Air Support Unit, the nonprofit 501c3, so it's a private corporation, is going to provide all required insurance and maintenance. So without the video, I kind of gave you a quick recap. So we're going to look at a couple slides here. And I want to point you to, let's go to slide number 4. Now, I obtained these records, and I've been going back and forth with the fabulous people that work at the Kootenai County, not only all the different from offices, from the sheriff's office to the clerk to the county commissioners. The clerks are outstanding, hardworking individuals. I know that they're probably tired of me sending in these public records requests, but here we are. So I received this MOU, and it is dated May 4th, 2023. And it talks about the MOU between Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit and Kootenai County for 5/9/23. Once again, Lieutenant Zach Sifford is the author of the letter. Now let's look at this agreement. I want to let you guys know that there was another previous memo of understanding that they had for a while. Haven't quite figured out why they canceled it, but they adopted this one about a month or 2 later. And what they're saying is that in Article 1 of this termination of memorandum of understanding between Kootenai Regional Air Support, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, dated February 28, 2023 is terminated. So they're saying the previous document's no longer good. We're going to go through this really quick. I'm going to tell you the nuts and bolts. They do list out bullet point, but they don't provide any receipts for the equipment that they're putting on this aircraft. Remember, they said it's not going to cost the county anything. They said in their MOU that it was going to be used for primarily search and rescue, and then they come back around and they beg for $100,000 of civil asset forfeiture money to equip the helicopter with forward-looking infrared and spotlights and some other things. That they needed that $100,000. Then they justified saying that the helicopter was going to be used for some drug interdiction type of work. So again, they can't ever get their story straight. I get it. I understand. It's like a brand new toy, shiny, exciting, and you just can't contain yourself, Mark and Bob. Compensation and cost. Number 5, the county shall pay Kootenai County Regional Air Support the sum of $10,000, and it shall be responsible for all other costs and expense. So the county is going to pay him $10,000. This is important. And it's important because this is the contract that's going on, and it only references one instance of $10,000. It doesn't say every annum, not annual. Is annum a word? I just made it up. Annually. Insurance. Here's where I really want to focus. Insurance. This is a liability. Helicopters are notorious for crashing. In fact, one of Kootenai Regional Air Support's pilots that, Bob was bragging about, they have thousands of hours, is a guy that was a helicopter cop down in Huntington Beach, California. And in 2022, he crashed his helicopter into the ocean. He survived, but his partner did not. And now this pilot, presumed, is retired. I'm going to guess a disability is coming, possibly.
Seems to be the pattern.
Young guy. And he is now working for Motorola Solutions, which happens to sell the same body-worn cameras and the license plate recognition cameras and car cameras that this guy happens to sell. Kootenai County happens to use these devices. I have no idea yet whether or not there's any coincidence that he happens to also, not only as a volunteer pilot, also happens to be the salesman. We don't know. We're still looking into it, but
we don't know.
You're
just saying coincidentally. The office
you have a guy that crashed a helicopter 2 years ago, and now he's flying this helicopter up here. And from the National Transportation and Safety Board review, my interpretation, again, I'm a dumb carpenter from North Idaho. It looks like it was pilot error. So these are some of the quality individuals that are flying a helicopter and potentially putting Kootenai County at risk. So the insurance. Kootenai County Regional Air Support shall carry and maintain a comprehensive general liability policy in the minimum amount of $2 million to protect the county and its elected officials, officers, employees, and agents from and against any and all claims, losses, actions, and judgments for damages or injuries to persons or properties arising out of or in connection with its acts or performance under this agreement. KCRAS shall provide the county, I'm going to say this again, Kootenai County Regional Air Support shall provide the county with a certificate of insurance naming the county as an additional insured and referencing this agreement. Okay, we're going to come back to this insurance thing in a second. If you scroll to the very bottom, you're going to find on page 6, which is the second to last, I guess. This agreement is signed May 9th, 2023, Kootenai County Regional Air Support, Mark Ellis, Chief Financial Officer. So you have Mark Ellis, the registered agent for the company that owns the helicopter. He is claiming that he is their chief financial officer, and he just so happens to be the county employee, the sheriff's employee, the lieutenant that's overseeing this flight program that also received the $100,000 into their bank account for, equipping the helicopter. Folks, can you believe that this is going on? Like, who is guarding? It's like having the fox guard the hen house. And it was signed by all three commissioners, Duncan, Brooks, and Special Deputy Matari. Don't know if he was truly signing on behalf of the county or the sheriff's office, the clerk, and then Robert B. Norris, sheriff. And I don't know, it might be Brett Nelson. There's a little thing in there that says under sheriff, but the printed out version says Robert Bob Norris. So here again, you have elected officials that know what's going on, and they came to this agreement. And so I had to ask the question. I said, hey, let's go to slide number 6. I posed the question. I want to know where this liability insurance is that the contract, if you will, states that they have to have, because it's always about liability to the county. And if we scroll down to the very bottom of this, or I guess it would be the second part of the bottom, the second page. Second to the bottom. Second
You're
to the top.
getting there.
Second to the top. Second to the bottom.
You're getting
All right.
there with your instructions.
Here was my request. Please provide all insurance policies and certificates of liability insurance issued to Kootenai County on behalf of Kootenai County Regional Air Support as outlined in the 5923 agreement to provide helicopter services. Please provide current ICRIMP, which is the Idaho Consolidated Risk Management Pool, self-insured. Policies, coverages for the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Helicopter Program and the ICRIMP official who oversees this program coverage. So I sent that to the Board of County Commissioners, and what do I get? I get back, Mr. Wilson, regarding your public records request. No such records exist. Well, it was possible that I, should have contacted, who is it? The sheriff's office or the clerk. I mean, the clerk should be carrying all these records. So if you go to slide number 5, we see a chain, and we're just going to breeze over this. I'm not going to read it again. I asked the same question to the clerk. Did another records request. The clerk says, hey, we were actually forwarded your request from the Board of County Commissioners. Solid people at the Board of County Commissioners, public records request. Thank you, folks. And they too said, we don't have these records. So I posed the question to Clerk Jen Locke, and I said, hey, Miss Locke, if the Board of County Commissioners and the clerk are not keepers of these documents, who is? And the response today, Wednesday, July 24th at 2:55 p.m. She says, if the records exist, then the custodian of the record would be the Board of County Commissioners. Now, I started this request with the Board of County Commissioners, and when it went full circle, the clerk, who's supposed to keep most of those records, came back and said, sorry, if they exist. So what does this lead me to? Now, Bob Norris and Brett Nelson, I believe, were carbon copied on some of these requests. It is possible that they have this certificate, but they haven't filed it correctly. Right now, I'm going to go with the idea that the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit is not insured and that the full liability is resting on ICRIMP or the Idaho taxpayers. And let me tell you, that is a huge, huge risk. And by now, those in elected officials in offices, elected offices that know what I'm asking for, if they want to head off where I'm going, then it's up to you to give me the information that you know that I'm asking for so that I can squash any of these, I guess, what would I call it? Conclusions to what the evidence is pointing to. And I hope some of the county commissioners are listening right now, and the county attorney, so that they can look into this. If that helicopter crashes right now, who is going to cover the cost of that? And for a sheriff's office where Robert Bob Norris brags about how much of an admin guy he was when he managed, hundreds of employees down at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, whose policies, by the way, are an absolute wreck. Why in the world, Bob, are you not insuring this pet project of yours, this big shiny aircraft that you just have to have? Why are you allowing it to be so haphazard when it comes to transparency and records? And by the way, why is there no copy of the 501c3 IRS returns? You guys have a fancy website there, Ellis. Why don't you put that up on the website so guys like me can just quickly go and see what you're doing with it? Or are you funneling it through the search and rescue?
So I want to ask you a question, because some people are going to say, you know what, Wilson, you are constantly bagging on this helicopter program and you're presenting okay, I get it. It's kind of a tangled mess, but is it really that big of a deal? Break it down in like 5-year-old kindergarten. What are the top 3, the top 5 issues that the citizens need to be concerned about with this helicopter program and the associated nonprofit?
The helicopter was sold to us for reasons that are not accurate as to what the real intent was. That's number one. It's a bunch of guys that wanted to be pilots, and they decided they were going to throw a helicopter together. And I believe that they were hoping that generous donors from the community were going to give to this helicopter so that they can in turn keep up on their pilot licenses, and then they could look good for Bob, because Bob wants to look like Malibu, LA, right up here in Kootenai County.
Okay, that's
That's number one. Number two, the issue is the liability, the exposure to the county, the fact that you have active employees of the sheriff's office overseeing a company that is not only receiving resources, $100,000 in civil asset forfeiture money, who is receiving this money into an account with no accountability and apparently no insurance. And we don't really know whether or not the county is paying for a lot of other soft costs like flight suits and helmets and other things that we've been conned into. Because remember, he said we had a flight program earlier. I'm digressing again. Lastly, deals that appear to have been made with the tribe over a $200,000 contribution towards this helicopter that Mark Ellis and his buddies can fly around. And remember the emails that we have up on the website where the Coeur d'Alene Tribal Council requested out of the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office after this $200,000 donation was made towards the helicopter. They asked, we want to take over primary law enforcement for both tribal and non-tribal members. So those are the three.
And again, the burden of proof isn't on you to say this copter program should or shouldn't be, is or isn't ethical. You are presenting the evidence. The burden of proof should be on them. If they're not providing evidence that's being asked for, okay, we're coming to logical conclusions that this is not being done appropriately. Yeah. It's not needed. It's not necessary.
And I think there's a lot of fibs going on, frankly. I mean, I have checks, and we're not going to show them tonight, but there's two $10,000 checks written within a few months of each other for this MOU cost, the agreement. Again, the contract didn't say it was annual, but apparently there was two. So it is costing the county money. But, more importantly, we have to ask ourselves, when did this program first exist? Because, Bob, you said in your YouTube video there that we were going to play before the Board of County Commissioners that you already had a helicopter program that was basically already existed. And that was when you provided deputies to go and help the regional air support units like in Spokane. I get that. But that might be one or two TAC officers, not 8 guys. And the policy for the air unit that I saw goes back all the way to early 2023. So the question is, what came first, the egg or the chicken? Anyway.
The plan was there. Logan commenting on Facebook, not to cut you off there. He says, we all want to debate so you can ride him like a stick horse. Yeah. He said Norris is afraid.
Oh, we know that Norris is afraid. In fact, Norris is so triggered that every time he's at a parade now and he walks by, he's in his Malibu Bob outfit. So he's wearing a Class A dress uniform with a tie looking like Indiana Jones from The Last Crusade, and his new crunchy Malibu edition straw hat, his aviators, and his drop leg holster. And, he goes marching by, like he's hell on wheels, and he won't ever say hi. Now, look, in public, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be cordial. But yeah, there's a lot of fear surrounding him, and he has to always surround himself by his goons.
But yeah, Bob Norris, you're making it worse to evade the Dan Wilson shake his hand.
Let's do it.
It's making it worse.
Let's do it, Bob.
Worse. I want to put this in here because I'm giving a challenge out to all of you. In this photo that you see up on the screen, Mr. Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff is standing in front of a 6x6 banner. It is on a storefront business, and the hint I'm going to give you is on Government Way. So if you find that banner, I promise you there's going to be a spot there to safely pull your car over, get out, take a picture of yourself aside that banner, just like Dan is here being shown to you. And the first one to do that is going to win a prize. I don't know what the prize is going to be. Do you have an idea of the prize?
What if somebody's driving by right now and they just jump out and do it? I mean, is that really the fair way to do this?
I think it's fair. I think it's fair.
Okay.
Well, we'll see how
this is her idea. So if you get mad, email
I'm just flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, whether it's this place or any of the other places, businesses that are brave, that have come out and said, we are going to unabashedly show our support for Dan Wilson. Would you give those folks your business? Even if you don't need to buy something, pay it forward. Go and spend 15, 20 bucks. Brighten those people's days, and let's continue to support each other in this community.
Are we allowed to say where we're going to have our watch party, or are we keeping that a secret?
We're going to keep that a secret.
I thought
Absolutely.
you might say
we're
that.
Keep. We are so excited. So
Mum's the word.
We were out the other night and had somebody come up to us that owns a local favorite spot that we eat, and they said, "Hey, would you consider, or do you have?" I'm kind of getting it off, but in other words,
That's all right.
Would you consider using our place? And without even batting an eye, it was absolutely, folks. We know that there is a lot of bullying that takes place. In fact, there was a local leader that came out and endorsed me, and then a very short time later had to take it down because of the blowback that was received. Many of you have already seen that post, and you know, but I'm telling you, the intimidation is very, very real. And I'm asking people out there, do not fear. Stay strong and courageous, and defy the calls that you may get from the sycophants of those two individuals that I talk about all the time. Be brave. Together, we're sending a message that the bullying and the coercion and other things that are going on, the leveraging, is not going to be acceptable anymore.
This is your last call to drop in your questions or comments for Dan. We just have a few minutes left in the program. I do want to read a comment here from Instagram.
And I don't mind going over a little bit late if we have questions to answer.
Yeah, and we'll hang on here if you've got a question, and Dan can answer that for you. So a comment from Instagram is keep up the good work. He's calling you sheriff. Awesome. Is that misleading? Are we misleading?
You can call free speech. You can call me whatever you want, and I am the Idaho sheriff after all.
And then he says you should run for governor. What do you think about that?
No, thank you, brother. I appreciate that, but my heart has never been in politics. I only saw a need right here in Kootenai County, and look, being in politics corrupts people. I want to follow the model of George Washington, which means 2 and you're done. Let other people do it. Thank you very much for that. But believe me, I'm better off in the trenches side by side, not leading a state.
You were just a bit ago talking about being bold in standing shoulder to shoulder with you in this message of liberty without compromise, but that we do get reports of people who have been bullied or reached out to. Yeah. So we had a comment drop into the section as you were talking about that somebody got a threatening call today, as a matter of fact.
Look, if you want to be brave and tell me who called you, and if you have any evidence of this, look, I will start protecting all of you. I will not put up with it. Bob Norris does not scare me. In fact, I will eat him for breakfast. I'm going to punch his ticket eventually. I'm going to show him the door. Bruce, same thing with you guys. You guys want to intimidate those that are freely practicing Republican ideals by your phone calls and coercion? It ain't going to work. So please, people, start being brave and let the public know. Post it in our social media. Send us an email and tell us that we can publish it. If we don't start doing this, these guys are going to continually get away with it. And I hear this every single week. People that are afraid to put up a sign. And they're also afraid because some of those in local political parties also, rather than looking for the individual that is best suited to serve the people shoulder to shoulder, they're more interested in politics and party affiliation. And that is what has destroyed this great country, is these parties. And I am sick and tired of both of them. I want people that believe in the American way, in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. So,
and I got something to add to this, because this has come up multiple times, and that you have in a lot of situations that there is a lady that wants to put the yard sign down in front of their house. And it's not that her husband is against it. I'm not calling anybody specifically out, because there are numerous reports of this. Mm-hmm. But the husband's like, look, the neighbors are making fun of me. We got to take it down. And so this is my challenge as a woman who respects the leadership of a man And it doesn't mean that we are unequal, but men, we need you to lead.
Yes, we do.
The volunteers in this campaign have been primarily women.
Brave women.
And this isn't because they've got more time on their hands, or the a man's working 9 to 5 and they can't be there. It is men who are afraid to take leadership. They don't want to be called out. They don't want to be embarrassed in front of their neighbors. And we're hearing it over and over again. And it's a shame. And for me personally, as a woman, it creates a major amount of disappointment in when I am looking for that male leadership in our community. Another comment from Instagram, because I know the clock is ticking here. People need to know that Dan Wilson cannot and will not be bought like most politicians in the higher echelons.
Cannot. They've tried to destroy me from the beginning. They'll try to do it again. But I've lived a life that I try to be respectful and lawful in everything that I've done. And in my entire life, whether it's business or personal life, fame doesn't matter to me. My identity is not in being the sheriff. My identity is in Jesus Christ and trying to be a righteous person, doing good to those in my community. And I am a citizen of this great country. And so, look, that's where it comes down to. I want to be true to the people, and I don't ever want to worship anybody. I don't fear man. You can't buy me, you can't sell me. Enough said.
Question. Also, I love that you guys have joined more en masse on Facebook, because
Yes.
I'm allowed to, or I'm able to, through our interface, put those comments up on the screen, even if we're not addressing them all. And it's so fun to see. The question, it's a simple one. Are you going to be at Hayden Days?
I am. I'm going to be at Hayden Days, definitely. In fact, look for us. We're going to be, after the parade, handing out little Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff stickers. Here's what I love. I love the parades. They're great. Afterwards, meeting with the people. Oh my goodness, am I overwhelmed. Last week, impromptu speeches by people that pulled us off the street, and we gathered in a bar of 12, and the next thing you know, they're all believers in liberty without compromise, shoulder to shoulder with Dan Wilson. So we're going to be there. We're going to be handing out stickers. Now, as things heat up, I can only be in, one place at a time. But man, my volunteers are the best in the county, and they are representing me, and they'll be there to hand out stickers and or literature at other events. If you want to volunteer to be on the Dan Wilson campaign posse, don't send us. You got to go to the website, theidahosheriff.com. You can sign up.
Yeah,
and
do
tell us
whatever
what
you need to
want.
do.
Yeah.
Send us a private
What's our
message.
next- any more?
Oh, this is funny.
Okay.
He says, shoot. Give me a sign. I'll put it up in my yard. My neighbors don't have the fuzz on the peaches to tell me to take it down.
Outstanding. I love that comment. Finer than frog's hair, right? Okay, so 2 places. If you want to just go and get one and help our team so they don't have to run all over town, we do have them in Hayden at Survival Enterprises, and we also have another stack.
Did you I feel like you just gave a clue to something.
We also have one distribution place, Westwood Guns in Rathdrum. So again, if you can't make either of those places, we will hook you up. It just takes a little bit longer. Also, if you have a spot in Kootenai County, a building preferably, or a good fence, where you want one of the 6x6 Dan Wilson, the Idaho Sheriff campaign banners, let us know. We will gladly hook you up. We have magnets.
Oh, yeah. These, I love these.
We also
Personal
have
favorite.
other car magnets as well that people can get that have the official logo of the Idaho
full,
Sheriff.
the full logo on it.
So we are so excited, man. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see the grassroots that are exploding everywhere in Kootenai County. I've never enjoyed having people recognize me out in public because it's weird. I'm learning that it is great to see so many people that have heard the message and they want to talk about it. It's not to see Dan Wilson. It's to talk about their experience and their concerns and the importance of the liberty without compromise.
So we had one other question. I think this is a good one. Somebody asking if we have a list of businesses that support us. We haven't necessarily collated that list, but I think that that's a great idea. So that's something that we'll get.
Would
to
you
work
be the
on.
first business to officially come out?
Come join us.
We'd love it. So
a last comment from Dexter, and then I think I'm going to let Dan wrap it up. He says, "Hey Dan, God bless you guys again. It was great seeing you at Rathdrum Days."
Yeah.
Festival. That's just an example
Yes.
of what you're talking
Hey,
about.
Dexter.
This man is a true man of God and country. The rest of that comment I'll leave up on the screen for you guys to finish reading yourself. And then why don't you take us out for the night?
look, folks, I know that there's a lot to consume when we have these live events, and they're not always the same. Sometimes we repeat things over and over again because it's important that you absorb what we're telling you and that other people that are just joining us catch on what's going on and why Kootenai County needs a change in leadership. You cannot afford another 4 years with the emotionally unstable, hostile Bob Norris. Now, lots of uncertainty in the world. Why am I running? Because I want to get us ready for the next time they try to do a COVID. Next time the globalists try to take us over and outrun the Bill of Rights. Remember, we did not descend from fearful men. We descended from men who truly understood the times. And they acted accordingly, and they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And that has been passed down generation after generation. And while things are scattered and upside down, you right now can be part of that change right here in the county where all government starts. Hard times are coming, but let's band together. Life, liberty, property. Let's become that county that's a shining city on a hill for all other counties around the country to see what a dedicated, joined together community looks like in the pursuit of liberty without compromise. Now, stay strong and of good courage. May God bless you. May God bless Kootenai County. May God bless America.
Thank you for joining us tonight for the Idaho Sheriff live stream broadcast with Dan Wilson for Kootenai County Sheriff. We're here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Idaho Sheriff to receive automatic reminders when we go live. And for the Idaho Sheriff podcast, listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. As always, learn more about Dan Wilson, his platform, and his viewpoints on our website at theidahosheriff.com.
Love that website. God bless everyone.